We're going to talk about the 3 qualities you need in order to win back your marriage. These are like the basics. If you don't have them, you can't get anywhere. It gives you an idea of what type of personality you need to have in order to turn around a marriage that's really limping, that's really in a lot of pain. You can also work on it and develop yourself to really have these character traits, because that will make a huge difference in your ability to turn around a marriage, especially when your wife is absolutely not interested in working with you. Number 1 is taking full responsibility. I'm going to make it simple. Stop blaming. Stop blaming your wife. Stop blaming her. I'm not saying you're the guilty one. I'm not saying that you're the one that made all the mistakes. Even if you didn't make all those mistakes, you cannot fix it if you blame. If you come from an attitude, and this, the way it manifests itself is in a few different ways. Sometimes the blaming comes up as, well, we both have to do it together. I cannot work on the marriage if my wife is not working on the marriage. That's garbage. It's not true. If you're coming with the attitude of, I can only invest if she invests, forget about it. You're going to be frustrated because you're going to be hitting the point. If not right away, you'll hit it just a few days into your effort. You're going to see she's not reciprocating, she's not appreciating, she's not recognizing your effort, or worse, she's blaming you. She's saying that you're just trying to manipulate her, or you're just being superficial. And if you come with the attitude of she has to participate, she has to recognize, she has to do her part, forget about it. I've not seen people turn around crippled marriages that way. It only came when one guy took full responsibility and said, I'm going to plunge my effort to invest in the marriage without blaming her, without expecting her to do the same. Sometimes the blaming comes up in a different way. Like, yes, I behave this way. I mouth off. I have an anger problem. I curse at her, or I have no confidence, or I'm not a man and I don't stand up for myself, but it's her fault. The other scenario where you're blaming is you say, look, I know I'm doing this wrong, but the reason why I am that way, the reason why I get angry, the reason why I have guilt, the reason why I have shame, the reason why I'm fearful and have anxiety and stress is because of her. And that also doesn't work, because you cannot break out. You cannot invest in a marriage when you have those types of emotions controlling you and you're blaming somebody else for them. It's unfortunate, but there are some guys who will just stick around and complain on a regular basis. And they're not going to change their marriage, but that's their choice. They end up just staying stuck where they are because they're in a place of blame. They're in a place of just inability to move forward. Another way the blaming comes up is like, okay, I know I screwed up. I know I acted up and would apologize to my wife, and I should apologize, but I'm afraid to, because if I do, she's not going to apologize for what she does wrong. She's going to just take advantage and point fingers at me and say, you see, it's your fault. Therefore, there's a fear to apologize and make things right, because the fact is, probably your wife is also not doing things perfectly, right? Like I said before, I'm not putting all the blame on you. But here's the point. If you come from a perspective of blaming her, you will not be able to move forward. And if you move forward, it's going to be ineffective and it's going to backfire. It's going to leave you frustrated, and it's going to leave her even more frustrated, because she's going to see some of your effort and then she's going to see you give up, which just feeds that negative cycle of you trying to please her. It's not working. You're saying things to her. You're saying you love her. You're helping around the house. You're trying to get that closeness, and then it blows up. Number 2 is looking for results quickly. You have to have the ability to think long term. You have to be able to approach it and say, hey, I have a solid strategy. I know what I'm doing. I know how to invest in the marriage. There's a whole bunch of different things about how to invest in the marriage. No matter how good of a strategy you have, if you come with the attitude of, hey, I did all the right things, and you're expecting to see results right away, which is like expecting to see the grass grow, then it's not going to work. If you have a solid strategy, eventually it's going to kick in, but you don't see grass grow overnight. It takes a few weeks. It takes some time. One of the big mistakes I see guys make are guys who come with the attitude of, if I'm doing all the right things, I should see results right away. It doesn't work like that. And you can't expect that the marriage should just turn around because you turned around. So it's very important to have those 2 things straight. Number 1, stop blaming her. Take full responsibility for yourself. Otherwise, you will not save your marriage. Number 2 is to think long term and understand that there are no magical tricks. If your marriage is what I call a limping marriage, it's in critical condition, you're not going to get help from just throwing out a question. Nobody knows the context. Just throwing out, what should I do in this situation? How do I control my wife's spending? Or my wife spends a credit card, she has responsibility, she's reckless. Guys, start giving responses, which I strongly discourage. Then we find out a couple of days later that this guy was having an affair, or in one situation, she was having an affair. The question about the spending was irrelevant. What's more relevant is his affair, or in another case, his inability to control his anger. Nobody can give you a tip how to help her with her spending. If that's just a symptom of the problem. That's a result of the problem. You have many problems in your life when your marriage sucks. Your communication sucks, your sex life sucks, and your finances also suck. That's typical. Both because her spending is out of control. A woman is going to spend more to make herself feel good when she doesn't feel love, when she doesn't feel safe in the relationship, when she doesn't trust. And also because your ability to make money goes down because of your stress, because of your anxiety. I've had one guy who lost $20,000 just because he went down from a manager position to a non-manager position as a result of the stress in his marriage. There's so many reasons why your finances go down. So that's just a symptom of a crippled marriage. But back to the point I was saying, it comes down to you making a decision of saying it's going to take time. When you're trying to heal something at its core, it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. So that's number 2. Number 3, you have to be 100% coachable and humble and willing to change. If you're in a completely messed up marriage and you come for help, but you come with the perspective of, well, I know all this stuff, right? I know I have to show appreciation. I know I have to listen, right? I know I should be asking her on dates, and I'm doing that. But the problem is this: if you come with an attitude that you know a lot and you're just looking for a tip or a technique or a trick that's going to turn it for you, it's not going to work, because you're not coming with an attitude of being open. You have to be 100% coachable, 100% open for transformation, 100% prepared for somebody to rewire you emotionally and psychologically and teach you from scratch about men, women, marriage, yourself, and can just change your life completely. What I find is that guys who come with the attitude of like, well, I'll take from here, I'll take from here, I'll take from here, they'll never figure it out. They'll never create an amazing marriage from a situation that's really crippled and miserable. And you'll see some of these guys, they'll just share every now and then what's going on, but what they're really looking for is some magical solution, something that's going to suddenly turn their wife around, because they're not willing to be turned around. They're not willing to step into their higher identity of really learning what it means to build very powerful spiritual, psychological, and emotional muscles so that you can step into becoming the man you were meant to be and the husband that God intended you to be. They're not willing to step into their higher identity. There are a bunch of reasons why people will stick around miserable marriages, but that's not the goal. The goal is to create amazing marriages, especially for people who have been struggling deeply. So those are the 3 qualities you need to have. You have to have the attitude of absolutely not blaming and coming with a desire to look at yourself. We made another video here about marriage needs a mirror, not a magnifying glass. The attitude has to be to look at yourself. Number 2, to know it takes time, to think long term, to not expect a magical trick. And number 3, which really brings it together, is to be 100% humble and willing to take a second look at everything you think you know about marriage. Every attitude, every habit, every ritual, the philosophy on a spiritual level, every perspective, to take a whole fresh new look at it. And that's the beginning of the healing. So if you have a solid strategy in place, you can take these 3 tips I told you and run with it. In order to bring this all together, you have to have a strategy. You can't just go in with the attitude of saying, I'm not going to blame, I'm going to be 100% open to learning, and I'm going to think long term. You have to have a strategy. If you do not have a strategy, you are completely lost. Or you think you have a strategy, but it keeps on backfiring at you, which basically tells you don't have a strategy. Or you keep losing emotional control. You feel confident you have a great strategy, but you keep getting stuck in guilt or anger at yourself or anger at her or fear or anxiety. In that case, you should book a call with me and my team and look at your situation and see if our solution can be custom made for you, if our program is going to work for you. But you have to come with the attitude of, I refuse to blame, I'm thinking long term, and I'm 100% open. If you have a strategy, great. No need to call us. But if you're missing the strategy, it's backfiring, or you're losing emotional control, then absolutely you should book a call with us, because that is what we're going to focus on. We're going to take a look at your situation and see, can we help you or not? So I put a link over here, and if that is for you, you just take a spot, then you fill out a short application. We'll jump on the phone together and see if we can help you.